Welcome to Powerful Hands. This is a lesson on petroglyphs, which is really about storytelling from the past. And in today's lesson, I'm going to share with you some of the petroglyphs from my home country and hometown. And before I do that, let me just say I miss you all. I miss seeing you in your classrooms and in the hallways, at arrival and dismissal. And I just want to know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And thank you for being here with us today. This is a different kind of a lesson for Miss Sikes. I have many years of teaching experience in the classroom, but I can tell you this is the first time I've taught a lesson over the computer using a new tool called I don't even know what it's called, Screen-O-Matic, I think. And it's a way that I'm teaching you and sharing my screen with you and making a video without really seeing your faces. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm learning a lot. This is an interesting time in history for us. It's a different time, and I think that it's on point with what's happening in our lesson today, which is talking about how we share history and how we can teach about the past. I think moving forward, if you can think about how you can preserve this time and the memories and the stories of this time, since you may have a little extra time on your hands, if you will, powerful hands, if you think about what are some things that you can do to preserve these memories. So let's jump into it. Oops. People throughout time have been sharing stories using pictures and words. You learned about this from Miss Morrow's class on Wednesday, in the lesson on Wednesday, where you talked about petroglyphs. In this lesson, I wanted to share with you some of the petroglyphs I find to be very special because they tell a story about my ancestors from hundreds and thousands of years ago. And again, you see this hand symbol here. It's a reminder of the main idea of this lesson. We really can't know for certain what these pictures and symbols mean, but archaeologists and historians, they are people who study the past, and they use artifacts such as these right here, to help figure out what life was like a long time ago. And it's kind of like a really big puzzle. Each piece helps us to learn more. So here are some pictures of what archaeologists do. They literally dig around sometimes in the dirt, and they excavate, or they find, carve out, unearth, or dig up pieces of the past. And they have to be very careful when they do this, so that they can preserve these very important pieces. You learned about the word preserve from Miss Haley. And, preserve means to keep something, to make it last. So now, are you ready for me to share the petroglyphs from my past? Well, they're not my past, actually. They are the past of the people who came way before me. So these hand stones I'm going to talk about today, they were found in a part of Norway called Østfold, right here. You can see the name Østfold. Østfold has a small town where Miss Sikes grew up. If you look at that little red circle, that's the town. It's called Råde. And that's where I went to elementary school. When I was a fourth grader like you, I went to school here. And at the time, I didn't realize the exciting part of my town, which was that it's a historical site where many petroglyphs were found. Petroglyphs that tell stories about the Bronze Age, which I'm going to share with you in a little bit what the Bronze Age is. But here's Norway, this red shaded area, and you can see where it fits in with the rest of Europe, which you may have heard about. Some of you may have been here or lived here. If you travel across the Atlantic, you get to North America. Up here is Canada, and down here you can't see it. Over here would be Tennessee. And Nashville, Tennessee is where we are now. This is the country of Norway in a bigger picture. And here is the small region of Østfold, where we are talking about in this lesson. In my hometown, we have part of what's called the Old Town Road, or Oldtidsveien. And this is where many of these petroglyphs were found. People still go there now to look at these. They're not allowed to touch them because, you know, we have to preserve them. But this is the Old Town Road. It's a little different than the Old Town Road that you may have heard about in the song that we like to sing. So let's start with a little reflection and observation. Take a look at this picture and tell me what's going on. What do you see that makes you say that? For example, I'm looking at what seems to be a hand right here, scattering something that might be seeds. And I'm thinking maybe this is a farmer scattering some seeds. And then I notice this footprint right here. And I think maybe someone is walking ahead to prepare the land, because that's what I think about farming. Someone has to prepare the land for the seeds to grow. Here's another picture, very similar. Here's the hand again, another powerful hand. But this picture, it has a different image at the top. This looks like it could be seeds, but it could also be a handful of small stones, or maybe it's marbles. And so that makes me think maybe it's some sort of game that's being played. What do you think? In this picture, you see the hand again, several hands, but this time they are carved, not painted. These stones were found separately, but maybe they were part of a larger piece of a mountain. We don't really know. We have to just put the clues together. What archaeologists have found by putting all these clues together and using the context of other artifacts, they think that these stones represent a certain ritual or a ceremony that could be related to the religion of the people who carved them. You learned about celebrations with Miss Haley on Monday, and you learned that some celebrations have customs and traditions, and they are different from different cultures. If I turn this picture the other way, you might notice now the hands are reaching upward, and perhaps they're reaching for whatever this is, the symbol of the 4 lines. This is a pattern that's repeated. And so when you see the last picture of this lesson, I want you to think about these hands and the stretching up and reaching up and see if you can make a connection. So what is a ritual? Well, a ritual is a ceremony or a series of acts, things that you do, activities that is always performed in the same way. So it's sort of like a routine. You do the same thing in the same way every time. The sequence is the same and the rituals are the same. Many celebrations have certain rituals connected to them. Some of you are celebrating Ramadan right now. And although it's going to be maybe a little different than you're used to because we have social distancing and staying at home, you may have to change the way that you do your rituals, just like we are changing the way that we are doing school. But rituals are connected to celebrations and customs, the way that we celebrate religion or other cultural events. You might want to think about some rituals that you have and some ways that you celebrate in your culture, because that will help you with your writing that you are doing after Miss Morrow's lesson. Thinking about ways that you celebrate, and by adding some of the rituals that you do, it will add some interesting detail. So now let's go back to the hand stones. They were found in countries like Norway and Sweden and Finland. All here is this whole area is Scandinavia. And they were found tracing back to what we call the Bronze Age. So the Bronze Age is a time between the Stone Age and the Iron Age. And these ages were labeled based on the material that was used to make weapons and tools. So in the Stone Age, what do you think the weapons and tools were made of? Right, stone, because that's what was available. In the Bronze Age, what do you think the tools and weapons were made of? Bronze, exactly. And what makes bronze? Well, when you mix tin with copper, you get bronze. And that became very popular. If you look right here, this tool looks like it's melting something. This symbol right here appears later on in a lot of the petroglyphs that you're going to see. You see a little bit of it right here. And it is telling us that the people who were able to make bronze were very important to the culture at the time because, of course, they could make tools. After the Stone Age and the Bronze Age, we had something called the Iron Age. Do you think you know what materials were popular in the Iron Age? Yes, iron. Iron was used to make tools and weapons. Whoop. So, what's your story? Take a look at this picture. There are a lot of hands in this picture. What are they doing? What's going on? What story is being told in this picture? I can tell you right here, these to me look like boats. And I know this because of the Viking ships that I remember reading about and learning about when I was younger in Norway. This right here, remember I told you about the Bronze Age tools and the people who were able to melt the metal using these tools, this long piece with a round here. Maybe that is a picture of someone with those tools melting the metal to be bronze. I'm not sure what this is right here, but look right here. It looks like it could be whatever they were holding with their hands. This right here could be, I don't know, maybe an animal. Maybe here, what's happening here? Are these people?